Welcome to Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner.
In our top story, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared that the unprovoked terrorist attack that claimed the lives of 4 young Israelis and wounded more than a dozen others is part of the same pattern inspired by the Islamic State, which has been inflicted on France, Germany, and now Israel. The premier said this latest murderous assault is part of the same global scourge of new terrorism, which we must and will fight together. On January 8th, the Arab terrorist deliberately rammed his truck into a group of Israeli soldiers disembarking from a bus, and then reversed direction and ran over them again until he was shot dead by a young female lieutenant and a local tour guide. A crane had to be used to extricate several of the wounded victims trapped beneath the vehicle. The radical Islamist Hamas movement released a statement praising the murders and vowing that with Allah's help, it will escalate its murderous campaign against Israel. Thousands of Palestinians flocked to the streets of Gaza to celebrate the killing spree by handing out sweets and chanting anti-Israel slurs.
An Israeli flag was projected on the front of the Paris City Hall on Tuesday in a symbolic act of solidarity with the victims of the vehicular attack in Jerusalem. Germany did the same by shining the lighted image of the Israeli flag on its most prominent landmark, the Brandenburg Gate. While the monument in Berlin is occasionally used in similar gestures toward other nations, this time it was carried out particularly in acknowledgement of a similar terrorist incident, also involving a truck, at a Christmas market in the city just a few weeks ago. It was especially poignant for many to see the Israeli flag at the very same site that once served as a symbol of Nazi power just a little more than 70 years ago.
In other news, the Israeli government is expressing gratitude to the U.S. House of Representatives for its overwhelming approval of a bipartisan measure that slams the United Nations for unfairly targeting Israel. The lawmakers demanded the repealing or fundamental revision of Security Council Resolution 2334, which criticized Israeli building of Jewish homes in Judea, Samaria, and parts of Jerusalem. Republicans used the debate to accuse President Barack Obama of abandoning Israel by abstaining from the UN vote rather than exercising U.S. veto power. The congressional resolution also underscored America's unwavering support for Israel and demanded that Washington reject all future actions at the UN that are seen as biased against the Jewish state. House Speaker Paul Ryan declared that it is now time to repair the damage done by this misguided hit job at the United Nations.
A similar bipartisan measure reprimanding the UN has also been introduced in the Senate. The proposal also calls on the U.S. to reject attempts by outside parties to impose a solution on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, specifically insisting that Washington block any such actions at the upcoming Paris conference set to open on January 15th. Meanwhile, a small group of Republican senators is proposing that 50% of the State Department's 2017 budget be withheld until the U.S. Embassy in Israel is moved from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The measure was introduced the first day that the new Congress convened on Capitol Hill as Republicans prepare to control the White House, Senate, and the House of Representatives for the first time since 2007. Senator Ted Cruz, who is one of the embassy bill's co-sponsors, accused the outgoing Obama administration of exercising a vicious vendetta against the Jewish state. Cruz said that it is finally time to cut through the doublespeak and broken promises to do what Congress said it would back in 1995 by finally relocating the embassy to the capital of America's great ally, Israel.
Representatives of Canada's leading political parties appeared at a parliamentary press conference to vocally oppose the 2017 UN Human Rights Council. UNHRC member states are elected by the General Assembly and are entrusted with upholding the highest standards in the promotion and protection of human rights. But as its numerous critics point out, the Council includes many of the most repressive regimes in the world, such as Saudi Arabia, Venezuela, China, Cuba, and Iraq. Speakers at the conference included Hillel Neuer, who heads up the nonprofit group UN Human Rights Watch. He stressed that many of the worst violators of human rights wear their UNHRC membership as a badge of legitimacy. He went on to urge all democratic countries to denounce the Council for having become nothing but a farce.
In regional developments, high-definition photographs taken by an Israeli spy satellite appear to have documented the existence of a secret stash of Russian-made ballistic missiles in Syria. The image captured by Israel's Aros B installation is confirming some of the worst suspicions long held by Western intelligence sources who fear that Moscow has been supplying Damascus with its most advanced weaponry. Missiles filmed being loaded onto Syrian military trucks have been identified as the Iskander, which has a 311-mile range and capability of delivering nuclear payloads.
PA President Mahmoud Abbas has failed to deliver on his promise to remove incitement from Palestinian school books. A new study by the Center for Near East Policy found that many texts delegitimizing the State of Israel are still being used at educational facilities run by the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. The Jewish state has been completely erased from maps and geography classes taught in both Gaza and the Palestinian Authority. Arab school children see the word Palestine superimposed over all of Israel, while Tel Aviv has been renamed Tel Arabia, and no Jewish towns built after 1948 appear at all. In addition, the history books, which the Arab youngsters study, make no mention whatsoever of the Jewish presence in the land of Israel or Jerusalem, now or in the past. The holiest site in Judaism, the Western Wall, is identified as Islamic property, and the books repeat inflammatory lies that Jews are attempting to illegally seize control of the Temple Mount.
The Israeli Antiquities Authorities announced the find of a very rare inscription of a cross on the limestone wall of an ancient water cistern. The symbol was likely carved during the 4th century Byzantine era by some of the world's first Christians. The cavern included other stunning niches and engravings, including one of a 3-footed candelabra dating back even earlier to the Second Temple era, sometime between 530 years before the Common Era and the year 70. Archaeologists note an astonishing similarity between the depiction and the actual menorah that once stood in the biblical temple. Even more miraculous is that a group of Israeli cave explorers made the discovery in the Judean lowlands during recent celebration of the Hanukkah festival, when Jews light candelabras to commemorate the restoration of the ancient temple in Jerusalem.
Israel, the light unto the nations, today faces attack from more than just rockets and terrorism. Calls to boycott, sanction, and divest from Israel, known as BDS, are a form of economic warfare that you can help to prevent. The Israel Allies Foundation has launched a public service campaign called Defeat BDS, offering educational tools and other resources that you can use to stand with Israel and help make a difference. Just visit the easy-to-use website at www.defeatbds.org.
That concludes the news portion of our show. Stay tuned for Ask the Source with Josh Reinstein.
Hello and welcome to Ask the Source. I'm your host Josh Reinstein, and we're here on a beautiful day in Jerusalem on our rooftop balcony. My guest today is Professor Eugene Kontorovich at Northwestern University Legal Department. Professor Kontorovich, thank you for being on the show.
Pleasure.
Tell our viewers a little about the work you're doing regarding this atrocious resolution that was passed by the Security Council just several weeks ago.
So the Security Council Resolution 2334, which the Obama administration allowed to pass, is an outrage and makes a mockery of international law. What this resolution essentially says, by saying that settlements are illegal, is that it is a crime for the Jewish people to live in neighborhoods of Jerusalem, to live in Judea, the area from which the Jewish people get their name, and that the State of Israel has to prevent Jews from living in this area and essentially create and maintain a Jew-free zone. That's not something that's been asked of any other country in the world, and to ask it of the Jewish state is a travesty. Now, the point of having this done through the Security Council, the reason the Obama administration did this, is to make it hard for the next democratically elected government, the next administration, to change it, because you can't change things in the Security Council so easily. And it's an attempt to get around the American separation of powers and the notion that new Congresses and new administrations can undo the work of the past. So the United Nations is being used like a lockbox for American foreign policy that can't be accessed by democratically elected successors. However, there are ways that the Trump administration can fight back against this.
Well, you know, a lot of people are seeing this as a sneak attack by the Obama administration, but this has actually been his policy since the beginning. He claims that Israel is occupying the land of Judea and Samaria, when legally, politically, biblically, this is complete nonsense. Where is this opinion coming from?
So the opinion, the idea that it's illegal for Jews to live in this area is based on a notion that this is Palestinian territory, that it belongs to the Arabs, and that Israel is an occupying power. Now, as it happens, the League of Nations mandate officially created the entire area from Tel Aviv to the Jordan River, including Jerusalem, Judea and Samaria, also known as the West Bank, as a single entity that's going to be a Jewish national home. There was never an Arab state in this territory, and Israel for sure is not occupying this territory because, first of all, you can't occupy territory to which you have a title. And if Jordan, which invaded it upon Israel's independence, had some kind of title, then Israel's also not an occupier because Israel signed a peace treaty with Jordan in 1994. And there's no such thing as occupation, which is part of the law of war, that survives the signing of a peace treaty. So the idea is created solely for Israel, and these are not rules which would apply anywhere else.
So legally, there's no standing for what the Obama administration did, but he did put facts on the ground by passing this Security Council resolution. What can Trump do when he comes in? He tweeted, Israel, January 20th is coming, hold on. What can he do now?
There's a number of things the new administration and the new Congress can do to undo the effects and undermine the idea and the ideology behind this resolution. The first thing the administration can and should do, it doesn't need any congressional authorization for this because there already is authorization, is to move the embassy here to Jerusalem. And the Trump administration should go further and not just move the embassy anywhere in Jerusalem, but rather move it specifically to the location of the current consulate, just down the road from here, in what many would say is eastern Jerusalem. That is to say, in those areas designated for Israel that were occupied by the Jordanians until 1967. Actually, it's in the no man's land. By putting the embassy in the location of the current consulate across the so-called imaginary green line, the Trump administration would be showing that not only does America see Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, which indisputably it is, but a unified Jerusalem is a capital of Israel. And that would be a very strong pushback against the Security Council resolution. The administration can say, as its official legal opinion, that the presence of Jewish communities in eastern Jerusalem, in the Old City, in the surrounding regions, is not illegal, is not a war crime. The administration can take a tough line against the United Nations by showing up to the same Security Council and vetoing those resolutions that are not in the U.S. national security interests, which is most of them, because most UN resolutions don't really do anything, they just wag fingers. And one good place to start would be vetoing the resolution that authorizes the United Nations peacekeeping force in Lebanon. Its job was supposed to be to disarm Hezbollah. Instead, it has helped Hezbollah and allowed Hezbollah to acquire 100,000 missiles aimed at Israel. There's no reason the Security Council should be passing resolutions saying that Jewish homes in Jerusalem are a war crime while not disarming Hezbollah. The president can also make quite clear that Jewish products, when imported to America from Jewish communities in eastern Jerusalem, in the West Bank, should be labeled "Made in Israel." And he could do that simply by reversing a Treasury regulation that says the opposite. And of course, Congress can support all these efforts by passing laws making clear that when America has a treaty with Israel, well, whenever American law applies to Israel, for the purposes of American law, Israel means all those areas under Israeli jurisdiction, including eastern Jerusalem and including the West Bank or Judea and Samaria.
Well, Professor Controvoge, there are literally tens of millions of people watching this show. What message do you have for our viewing audience?
The Security Council has just said that if an American buys a home or moves right over here, right behind me in Jerusalem, he's violating international law. Unless, of course, he's an Arab, in which case it's okay. Unless, of course, he's an Arab buying it for a Jew, in which case it's not okay. That goes against basic American values and American principles, and there's a lot of work for people at the grassroots to do to get your congressman excited about understanding how this goes. This isn't just about Israel. This is about American values and how undoing this pernicious resolution should be a key priority.
Now, it sounds like racism to me. Thank you, Professor Controvoge, for being on the show, and thank you for tuning in to Ask the Source. I'm your host, Josh Reinstein. Now back to the studio.
Up next, the return to Zion with Karen Hayesod.
Shalom and welcome to the Return to Zion with Karen Hayesod. I'm Eliezer Moody Sandberg, World Chairman of Karen Hayesod United Israel Appeal, the leading official fundraising organization for the State of Israel. Today, you will witness the fulfillment of biblical prophecy through the gathering of the exiles. God bless you from Jerusalem.
Me and my family always prayed to come to Israel because it's a home, it's our home. 10 months ago, I made Aliyah with my sister. We are living together in Haifa. I'm worrying about my family because the situation in Ukraine now really terrible.
The past decade and a half has witnessed a frightening upsurge of worldwide anti-Semitism, unparalleled since the 1930s. Across Europe, incitement, desecration of Jewish institutions, attacks on Jewish property, and acts of terror, including murder, are striking fear into Jewish communities. From London to Berlin, Brussels to Copenhagen, Jews are being harassed, assaulted, and murdered. The situation is particularly intolerable in France and in Ukraine. In France, violent crimes against Jews have become commonplace.
Avec la multiplication des actes antisémites en France, donc déjà j'ai peur pour moi, mais j'ai aussi peur pour ma famille, pour ma femme, pour mes enfants plus tard.
In eastern Ukraine, over 1 million people have been displaced. In the escalating chaos and lawlessness, Jews have once again become scapegoats, with many anti-Semitic incidents reported.
When I was in school, my classmates told me that, oh, you are Jewish, it's not normal in Ukraine, why you are Jewish? It was very hard for me to speak with them, to describe every time what I do in Ukraine and why I'm Jewish.
I will give to you and your descendants after you the land of your sojourning, all the land of Canaan, for an everlasting possession. But Israel has always been the homeland of the Jewish people. Throughout their 2,000-year exile, the Jews prayed daily to return to the land of Israel. In 1917, Great Britain issued the Balfour Declaration. In 1920, Karen Hayesod was established to raise funds for this purpose. Since the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, Karen Hayesod has helped bring 3.5 million olim to Israel from the four corners of the earth.
This is Bible prophecy come into fulfillment. It's not just my heart, but I can feel the heart of Abba Father. Abba Father in heaven is so pleased to see his children who are scattered all around the globe is coming back home.
From India to Africa to Europe, record-breaking numbers of Jews are eager to come home. Aliyah rose dramatically in the past year, hitting a 10-year high despite the security threats that face Israel. Karen Hayesod operates in 45 countries throughout the world. The Karen Hayesod law, passed by the Knesset in January 1956, grants the organization a unique fundraising status. In close coordination with the government and the Jewish Agency for Israel, and in partnership with the global Jewish community and Friends of Israel, Karen Hayesod promotes Aliyah and other national priorities. We need you, dear friends, to be our partners in this noble mission of helping the people of Israel return home before the window of opportunity slams shut and live safely in its secured homeland. Karen Hayesod, with your generous assistance, has redoubled its efforts to facilitate every Jew who wishes to fulfill the biblical prophecy. Friends of Israel, the Holy Land and its people needs you now. He will raise a banner for the nations and gather the exiles of Israel. He will assemble the scattered people of Judah from the four quarters of the earth.
Come join Karen Hayesod in fulfilling biblical prophecy. Let's bless Israel together.
To donate and get information, call us at 1-800-505-1665 or visit our website at www.khisrael.org.
Today, in many countries across Europe, in campuses across the United States, in the social media, we are encountering a rising wave of anti-Semitism. And so frequently, that anti-Semitism tries to disguise itself as anti-Zionism, as hatred of the Jewish state, and not as hatred of the Jewish people. And yet, those who would try to deny the right of the Jewish people to self-determination in our ancestral homeland are guilty of anti-Semitism, not just anti-Zionism. There are 194 states in the world today. Most of them are nation states. Ireland is a nation state. Bulgaria is a nation state. Germany is a nation state. But none of these people are coming out and saying, well, the Germans have no right to an independent state in their homeland, or the Bulgarians, or the Irish. Only the Jews among the nations of the world have no right to a state in their ancestral homeland. That is not anti-Zionism. That is anti-Semitism. And we, who love and support the state of Israel, must unite and bond our forces together to fight anti-Semitism and the anti-Zionism that often disguises anti-Semitism. We must expose this false distinction, for indeed it is false. Those who hate Jews and try to say that they only hate Israel, we must expose them for what they are, not anti-Zionists, but anti-Semites.
Please stay tuned for the ICEJ report from the International Christian Embassy, Jerusalem.
You know, when we talk about home, the first association is to speak about family. And this home indeed has become family for the survivors. It all started in 2010. Shimon Shabak, who directs today this house, he had a small soup kitchen here in this neighborhood. And he saw that Holocaust survivors were coming to his soup kitchen, and he felt if there are needy Holocaust survivors, we need to do something about it. And he asked us to come, and he showed us a small apartment where he wanted to host 13 Holocaust survivors. He said, can the Christian Embassy help us to purchase that building? I looked at the entire building, which was a 4-story building. I felt the Lord talk to me, and I said, Shimon, why don't we buy the entire house? I was driving away from Haifa and thought, oh my gosh, what did I do? And how do we ever get this money together? I was pleading with the Lord, please help us. We have 5 months time to get the money together. For me, the biggest miracle was to see within 2 weeks people were sending us so much money like never before that after 2 weeks we could purchase that building. And within those 5 months which we had, we could even purchase 2 buildings.
אני רואה גם שיש פה יד אלוהים במקום הזה. וללא המרקם בין השגרירות הנוצרית ליד עזר לחבר, המקום הזה לא יכל להתפתח. אז אני רואה בזה ממדרגה ראשונה את הדבר הטוב ביותר שקורה, ולא סתם באים לפה בני נוער, חיילים, שהם שומעים שנוצרים, הם מחזיקים את המקום, הם מתנדבים במקום, זה מראה שאפשר גם את ההיסטוריה לשנות בצורה טובה, והשגרירות הנוצרית היא דוגמה לכל הנוצרים בעולם, איך אפשר לעשות דברים אחרת, ואתם עושים את זה גם ככה.
What I could see is that this house is providing an inner healing to those people to deal with their past in a positive way. You know, as a German, to see this home, and it's very humbling in many ways. You come from a country which wrote the darkest chapter of Jewish history, and today to be here and to see that you are able to open a new page in the life of the Jewish people, it's very touching. People from all over the country, they are applying, we want to be at the home for Holocaust survivors. And the very sad story for me is that many of them we have to tell, no, we don't have the finances to add more people to it. So it's really my vision that by the end of this year, even we have 100 people here, or that we can expand this house here in this next few years, even for a couple of 100 survivors. Time is running out in Israel, and we need your help to continue this operation here in Haifa and even to expand it. The keys are in your hand. Please help us to open the door and welcome them home.
Are you a pastor or church leader looking for fresh vision for your ministry and a chance to see what God is doing in Israel? Join us in Jerusalem for the Envision Pastors and Leaders Conference. You will have the opportunity to connect with local Messianic and Arab pastors, receive exclusive briefings from key national leaders of the State of Israel, and enjoy special times of worship and prayer. To learn more about the annual Envision Pastors and Leaders Conference, visit envision.icej.org.
That's all for this edition of Israel Now News. I'm Yochanan El-Rom.
And I'm Erin Viner, reporting from our studio in Jerusalem. Please join us again next week for all of your Israel updates.